Well, we don't always have a nice cliffhanger for you here on the live stream. If you've been watching, following along, we just had the vote on the membership memorials, and that vote was taken, and the results will be shared tomorrow. We are so excited to be joined right now by Janelle Vernon, who was elected today overwhelmingly as the new Executive Director of the Division of Communication and Administration. So, Janelle, welcome. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you, Heath.
Tell us just a little bit how this opportunity came about for you.
Well, actually, I was at work one afternoon, and the phone rang, and I was told that my name had been put forward for this position. And when I was told that, I literally just stopped and said, I have such respect for the leadership of the denomination that I had to pray about this.
Right.
And so didn't see it coming, but had a very immediate sense that God was in this and that I would be disrespectful if I did not.
Wow.
Just make myself available.
Oh, that's awesome.
Janelle,
awesome.
Folks are getting to know you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
This is wonderful. But can you tell us a little bit about your service at IWU and also Asbury?
Absolutely. Do you want me to do the most recent? Just whatever.
However you want to do it.
Okay. Well, currently, until today, I was serving as the Vice President for Enrollment, Management, and Marketing, focusing on the residential campus. And so I moved from Asbury Seminary to Indiana Wesleyan University in 2010 and worked in did marketing for the entire university. And then when Dr. Wright was elected, they did restructuring, and I moved to enrollment management and marketing for residential specifically. My work at Asbury Seminary, preceding that, I served in a number of capacities, ending up with enrollment management. So I have almost 30 years of experience in Christian higher education. Wow. A lot of that includes communication and admissions and all that work.
Yeah. Thank you. Tell us a little bit. Tell us about your family, and then maybe even take us back a little bit. Like, so where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Okay.
And all that.
Well, I am married to a United Methodist pastor. Mm-hmm. So I worship at a Wesleyan church in the morning at 8:30 service, and then I join my husband Chuck at his church that's in an urban center in Marion, Indiana at 11:07. So that works really well for us. We have two children, Abby and Aaron. Abby is married to Aaron Wilkinson. He is the director of admissions at Wesley Seminary. So he has worked with Wayne Schmidt.
Sure.
And they have two sons, Eli and Micah, and Eli is 5, Micah is 2. So they called me today, Abby Skyped, or sent me a video, and Eli's, congratulations, and Micah's just eating his breakfast. No response.
That's great.
And then Chuck and I have a son, Alex, who is 25 and a recent graduate of Asbury Seminary, or of Indiana Wesleyan University.
Okay, so the grandparenting gig's a pretty good gig, isn't it?
It's a pretty good gig.
Yeah,
Tony's just signed up for that recently.
It's really fun.
Yeah, we've
fun.
got two. One of my favorite moments ever is when my granddaughter was 2 years old, and I knew my daughter was coming to pick her up, and so I gave her 2 chocolate chip cookies. And by the time my daughter got there, she has them kind of crumbled up, chocolate on her face.
Yep.
And my daughter walks in and she looks at the granddaughter and then looks at me and goes, "Thanks, Dad."
Oh, yeah.
I said, "Hey, no problem. Let me help you get her loaded so you can get home."
I know, it's great. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. I grew up in northern Indiana, in Markle. So that's 25 minutes north of Indiana Wesleyan University. So when we moved back from Asbury Seminary, we came home.
Wow.
And it's been good.
So as you've been thinking about the possibility of this position and you're dreaming about just what's to come, what are some of your hopes and dreams for the Wesleyan Church? And this has just been an amazing general conference. People are responding online, but what are some of your hopes and dreams for we have such a great message, but what are your hopes and dreams for getting that message out?
Well, part of what I have observed about the Wesleyan Church that has been consistent is that it is a body of believers committed to going beyond the church walls, to meeting people where the needs are, and then living life with them. And in the Wesleyan Church, who they are is so reflective of God's glory that it invites people to want to know what that's about.
Yeah.
So when I think about this position that I have been truly honored
Right.
to be offered, I see my responsibility in the communication side is telling that story so that the broader community beyond the church understands the good work that's happening there. And so as more people learn and they catch that energy,
Yeah.
then will there be more conversations and more opportunities for bringing people into the body?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's one.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we kind of really see as our role here in this place is to tell that story. And I think there's been so many times that we have a great story, it just hasn't been told. So I'm really excited to see how God uses you. So do you want to go ahead and give out your Wesleyan email address and be inundated with requests and all this?
I would do that, but I don't have one yet.
Good for you.
Love it.
So it's coming.
Hey, talk a little bit. You're going to be working with Dr. Wayne Schmidt. Talk
Yes.
about him a little bit.
Yes.
You already have some kind of a working relationship with him.
Yes. Dr. Schmidt and I worked together when I was overseeing the marketing for Indiana Wesleyan University. And so I was part of Wayne's team when they were, the seminary it had launched, and I came kind of in that second wave. So we had meetings, and then when my position was changed 3 years ago, I did not work as closely with him. But what I know of Wayne Schmidt is that he is a bridge builder.
Oh, boy.
And he sees the value in each individual. I watch him have such quiet strength that you know that there is a foundation within him that is of God. And that he invites you into relationship with you. Yeah. And I have seen him, he very affirming of all people. And he is quite the leader. And I'm excited for the denomination.
Sure.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. So, hey, make sure you go to Wesleyan.org. There's a great article about Janelle and her career and her life and this new appointment for her. We're excited just to see how God uses you. It's just good days. It's just good days for the church. Obviously, we all trust Wayne's judgment and trust that relationship. So we're excited to see what God does. So
should we say this, that we are under this team? We're under the Department of Communications. So we already have you on our Christmas card list. Let us know what your favorite things are.
But you heard what people said about me. I lead from the side. And so you'll find we will walk together. It's going to be good.
Very good.
It'll be good.
So before we let you go, okay, we have been communicating, and it's two-way communication, and we've had some people who are using the hashtag, and they're showing us how they're enjoying, not just watching it, but enjoying General Conference from their homes, from their offices. The one picture we've got tonight is one I particularly like from a good friend, Jeremiah Clements, in Washington, Missouri.
That's got to be.
University.
All right. Hey, welcome back to the WesLife Webcast. Along here with Kim Gladden, Heath Mulligan, I'm Tony Casey, and we have as our special guest right now, Dr. Steve Lennox. Steve, I want to start this whole interview. Now, originally when I contacted you, I wanted to talk about Kingswood, and we're going to do that.
Okay.
But you're an author, and so I started reading this book a few weeks ago, and you and I had a private conversation. So I want you to talk about this. Abraham, father of all who believe, talk about it some, but then certainly work into the story, because there's kind of a connection, there's a tie with this and you going to Kingswood University, or it coincides with a time in your life.
Sure, it actually goes a little bit beyond that, which I'll get to. Wesleyan Publishing House asked me to write 3 books, one on Abram, one on Moses, and one on David. They had books by Ken Skank, former colleague at Indiana Wesleyan, on Jesus and Paul, and they wanted something comparable for the Old Testament. So I welcomed the opportunity and started in on Abraham. I consider it one of God's dirty tricks, actually, because just at the time I was writing this book on Abraham, this man whom God called to go to a land, leave your family and your friends and everything that's familiar, I get a call from Kingswood to consider coming up and being the president. So I realized it's very difficult to write a book on Abraham and say, no, I'm not going to go to Canada. But it was a joy to write. I love spending the time in and thinking about Abram's life and thinking about what really it means to walk by faith. And that book talks about how he really is the father of those who believe, not simply in a sense that he was the founder of the Jewish nation and Christianity grew out of that, but that his life really does stand as something of a paradigm for the rest of us in terms of the kinds of things that God is going to call people to do. For example, he's not going to call us to take our sons up to Mount Moriah and sacrifice, but it seems to be an essential part of every Christian spiritual development to have to come to grips with that moment when God touches that aspect of your life that really calls for a total commitment. And Abram becomes a model for us in how to trust God even when it seems like God is the last one you can trust.
Yeah. I would assume that the other 2 books are kind of the same format. So I didn't expect to read as much as this as I did, and I kept reflecting back on my 14 years of pastoring. I would just see this as a resource where I could preach a sermon series on Abraham. It kind of lends itself. I'm sure that was intentional, and the other 2 as well.
Yes, not so much that every chapter represents a sermon you can preach, but that the idea was that I wanted to be expositional. I mean, that's one of the things that God put me on the earth to do, is to unpack Scripture and show people the God that you can find there. So I wanted it to be that kind of resource that a person could treat it something like a commentary, but I wanted to help somebody to recognize that this is what you can do with this material and how it can come alive in your life and in the lives of those you impact. So I'm glad that you found it that way.
Yeah.
Moses was the second book, and I wrote that while I was learning what it means to be a leader of a college. And so I'm thankful I don't have anybody I'm leading that's like the Israelites in the wilderness, but these kind of leadership lessons of what does it really mean to lead into territory that is way outside your comfort zone and beyond the paradigms that you're used to. You're dealing with your own sense of who you are before God. At the same time, you're being called upon to reflect God to those people. And so God made up for the dirty trick in Abraham by helping me to understand leadership better with Moses.
Now, what's the 3rd book that you've been...
It's on King David. It'll come out in the fall. Yeah.
Yeah, be careful with that one. But let's transition to talk about Kingswood.
Okay.
I'm really fascinated by the statement here that your mission statement is equipping Christ-like servant leaders for global impact. And I'd like you to talk about that. How do you do that? What is that? Can you share a little bit with us?
Sure. Let me go to what we've just had approved by our trustees at the April meeting. It's a statement of mission and core values. We identified core values, the kinds of things that we think are important for us to identify. We start with a strong commitment to the inspiration and authority of Scripture because we feel like our students need to understand that this is God's truth, and it's the truth against which all other truth can be and must be measured, but that it's also inspired by God, which not only validates its authority, but reminds us that it's a living word. And we don't want to raise up Pharisees. We want to raise up men and women who can listen to God in his authoritative way, address tomorrow's concerns. So we are a Bible college unapologetically in the same way that we want to be, as Wesley was, a man of one book. Though he was so widely read, he makes the rest of us look uneducated. But he could call himself a man of one book, and we want to call ourselves a school of one book in the sense that that's what we're aiming for. But the mission statement actually is that Kingswood University exists to serve Jesus Christ by strengthening the local and global church through forming Christ-like servant leaders in a community that creatively blends academic excellence, practical ministry experience with intentional spiritual formation. So, to your question, all schools are going to provide academic excellence, or at least they'll claim to.
That's right.
Kingswood, I think, has a reputation for training men and women in what it means to do ministry. And so, from the very first month of a student's first year, they are on the streets doing ministry. They may be feeding homeless in a soup kitchen. They may be teaching kids to read. They may be working in a nursing home, or they may be sharing their faith in the streets of St. John or Moncton or Halifax. That's in their first month, and it doesn't let up. Their fourth year, for most of our students, they'll spend off campus in a semester-long internship. It's kind of the gold standard of internships. So practical ministry experience is something we want to make sure our students know how to do. But I think what sets Kingswood apart, and I think it's characteristic of Wesleyan institutions in general, is that we don't want to educate students here in their head on one part of campus, in their heart on another part of campus, and their hands in another part of campus. If a student is not formed as a whole person, heart, hands, and head, if they're not formed as a whole person in sync, then they're deformed. They end up having knowledge, they don't know what to do with it. And so they use it for, as I think it was Augustine said, curvatus and se. They're curved in on themselves. That's the definition of sin. We want students to have this knowledge and have these skills, but most importantly, with this intentional spiritual formation, to know what to do with it, to glorify God, love Him, love others.
So this is your first general conference as president of Kingswood.
Yes.
What was it like tonight to be on the platform with some of your students? But what do you hope to take back to your campus from this? I mean, this is just always a great way to showcase just the jewels of our denomination, our institutions. But for you going back home, what do you take home with you from an event like this?
One of the things is a tremendous pride in this denomination. I grew up in this denomination, was ordained more than 30 years ago in this denomination. And I haven't always agreed with everything in the denomination. Right. I've had what my friend Bud Benz calls lovers' quarrels with it.
Yeah.
But tonight, I felt again that deep sense of pride that I belong to a denomination where we're about getting things done. We're not about red tape. We're not about bureaucracy. We're about getting things done. And I was just talking to Buddy Rampy about some church planning that he's doing there in his district. And just the way the denomination comes alongside this progressive district and district superintendent to say, how can we help you get this done?
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm certainly going to go back to campus and help our students to understand what a privilege it is to be a part of a church for whom, loving God and loving others is of paramount importance. And it's not perfect. No denomination is, but they can, without reservation, commit themselves to serving within a church like this. We also have a good number of our students who aren't Wesleyans.
Right.
And our job is not to make everybody Wesleyans. I like to say it's to make everybody feel uncomfortable, but everybody feel welcome. But it is just such a joy to be a part of the Wesleyan Church and to be so heavily supported by the Wesleyan Church.
Before you do the wrap up here, Heath, just just the whole tenor of our conference. We had a discussion today about after Wayne was elected, one of the most moving things that was said was Isaac Smith afterwards. And I think part of it, we said, it's kind of the backdrop of the whole political system right now. And I think we're all just kind of weary. And it was beautiful to see that it wasn't a competition, and his attitude by that. Heath was over here crying when...
I was.
Yeah, and our technical producer was quite moved by it as well. And I think that kind of in a capsule, that moment, and it does bring up in us pride and just thankfulness in the way that we conduct the business of the church.
So, Dr. Lennox, you may not know this, but while the live stream's going on this whole time, we've had a chat room, and you just mentioned, your goal is not to make anybody Wesley, but you got a comment in the chat room from Pat Hannon, somebody you may know, who said, Dr. Lennox is why I'm a Wesleyan. So I want you to know you're doing a great job.
Pat's a great guy. I have nothing but respect for him. Great guy.
And obviously our prayers are with you. Thank you for who you are, the work that you're doing, and just so excited about what God's doing at Kingswood. And if you want to know more about what God's doing at Kingswood, we got a great video right now, and then we're going to come back and talk about some of the business that happened today at General Conference. So, Dr. Lennox, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Lennox, president of Kingswood University. I know I speak for all the presidents of Wesleyan colleges and universities when I say thank you for supporting us through your prayers and giving. At Kingswood, we are especially grateful for what you give through USF-EIF, for those contributions make up 25% of our annual budget. Quite literally, we could not do what we do without you. Thank you for your investment. Like any investor, you have a right to know how your money is being spent. We have designed a campus experience that blends academic excellence and practical ministry experience with intentional spiritual formation. We don't just teach Bible and theology, we emphasize the importance of living out these truths in the power of the Spirit. Our students don't just learn about how to do ministry, they minister regularly on and off campus. Pulse Days take our entire student body off campus and into our province to serve in the name of Christ. Every year, our fourth-year ministry students spread across the globe for a semester-long supervised ministry experience, the industry gold standard for internships. Our master's degree in pastoral theology is among the most convenient and cost-effective you'll find anywhere. Our innovative programs and dedicated staff help explain why Kingswood alumni are now serving across North America and in 28 countries around the world as pastors, youth pastors, missionaries, parachurch workers, lay leaders, and district superintendents. You can learn more about our students and graduates in the literature in your packet. If someone you know is looking for a GAP program or a 2-year associate's degree that provides a firm spiritual foundation, Kingswood has the perfect programs. Or if you're thinking about ministry, Kingswood offers an outstanding 4-year ministry education at a great value. Take a look at the literature we've provided to learn more about how your investment is paying rich, eternal dividends. Thanks.
Hey, welcome back. We want to talk a little bit about some of the business that was discussed today. Before we do that, okay, we have so many great viewers of the live stream. One of them I want to just commend, and that's Tamiko Turner, who's about to go into labor with a child, and she is watching the live stream. So you could say that we put her into labor. But Tamiko, thank you so much. She's been in the chat room, and we're just happy to help you pass this time. So today, a lot of memorials were passed, a lot of discussion. So let's just run through some of the ones that passed, and then we know what everybody wants us to talk about. We'll get to that. Memorial 240 was actually motion to defer.
Okay.
So it was deferred.
Okay, it was deferred.
To the second half. Memorial 220, that passed. Memorial 67 passed, which was not one that was not online. It was one that came, I believe, from the general board.
Did.
And it passed. I'm sorry, there's like all these numbers.
We never so on 67, like as you're given the numbers here, they can look that up.
Yes.
But you can't look up 67 because that was handed out on the conference floor. It was just drafted 2 weeks ago.
Now, all the information I'm about to give you, okay? If you go to the Wesleyan Church Twitter page, it just, twitter.com/Wesleyan Church. Stephen Sheets is doing a great job live tweeting this. There are links to all of these memorials that were listed. So all these numbers that were listed, you can go and on the Twitter feed, Steven's got all that. It's on the Facebook page. Memorial 106 was amended and passed. Sorry, I don't remember what that was. 80 passed. 60 passed. 63 passed with an amendment. And then tonight, we ended lots of discussion about church membership.
Yeah.
About the membership commitments, moving them. Tony?
I don't want to get into the constitutional and statutory because I was a little bit confused on that, so I don't want to speak definitively. Here's where I think that we can concentrate this. So we've had the first volley on this. There was a vote tonight. A ballot was cast. I don't know if our viewers are aware of it or not, but we've had trouble with the electronic balloting here.
Yes.
So it's kind of pushed business back. So the ballot was cast tonight, but we won't have the count till tomorrow morning. Here's the deal. There are kind of two ways to look at church membership. One is a broad gate to come into the church, belong, come on in, narrow gate for leadership.
Yeah.
Another view has been a narrow gate to come into the church.
Yeah.
And we're talking membership here. That's really simplistic, but that is where the debate lies on this. And I think that the decorum has been good.
Oh, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you wanted to talk about tonight was related to that.
Yeah, I think I wanted to say that we've had discussion, we've had people bringing forth differing opinions, but it's been done in a very respectful way.
Right.
It's been done in a very collegial way, and so I think that's something. Not all conferences can discuss something that has people on such polls with the kind of respect. And now I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But for tonight, we can say that there has been just such respect, and the other good thing is that we're in a denomination where we can have this conversation.
Yes.
We can say, I feel differently about this than you do, and have it accepted. So I think that's even as we were saying with the election of the General Superintendent, the respect and courtesy, that same flavor. People have differing opinions, but they've been offering them in a good kind of way.
Pastor Dan Leroy, the retiring district superintendent of North Carolina East, had written a position paper that was actually read, before the memorial was discussed, and I thought it was just great. The heart behind it, the way it kind of gave. Just the heart behind this memorial.
I wonder if we could get a hold of that. I don't know if it's going to be made for, to just be released publicly, but it'd be great if we could and let if people didn't hear that, very informative, very helpful on the issue.
This would be a business session that would be worth going back and watching because of what Kim said. Excuse me, just the spirit that was there, and a lot of good discussion on both sides. And the vote is taken. So I don't know if
listen,
you go ahead and talk. I'm going to take a sip of this 10
I was just going to say. So earlier we had on Dr. John Lyons, CEO, President of World Hope International, and Heath discovered that this is the 20th anniversary of World Hope, and so Heath put out a challenge, and the challenge is this: to give $20, $1 for every year that World Hope has been in existence. So our whole team took up the challenge, and we certainly forced Heath to take up the challenge because he's the one that issued the challenge. We put it out on Twitter, and we would love during the rest of this week, we're going to keep pumping this and encourage you to do this. What a great organization. and it's doing so many worthy causes around the world.
And Tony knew we were going to be talking about this, and so he sent you a subliminal message during this entire live stream by placing his George Costanza wallet in front of his computer. And he is, this whole time I'm thinking, yes, the $20 challenge. So what we need you to do is make that donation at worldhope.org and then tweet it out. Take a screenshot of the thank you page and tweet it out to @worldhope.org. They have just been so embracing of that. You can actually, at the bottom, you can put it in honor and celebration and memory of somebody. I did mine in celebration of Dr. Joanne Lyon and all her work. And what a great, this is a great gift to her, great gift to World Hope.
Yep.
And super, super thing. So, also, you need to keep using that hashtag #MadeNew. Okay, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We want to see your pictures. We want to see your tweets. We want you to enter to win this great book, Paradox, from Matt Leroy and Jeremy Summers. So if you use the hashtag #MadeNew and the hashtag Paradox, you got to learn how to spell that, you could win this signed copy. I wanted Dr. Lennox to sign that book, but it's, you know, I didn't want to give away your personal copy.
I was going to
Oh, I
say.
have no problems with that.
But we're going to try to do some more giveaways here over the next 24 hours.
I want to put a big shout out,
Yeah.
a big thanks to someone, and
Yeah.
that's our technical producer,
Yeah.
Matthew TG, doing
Yeah.
a great job
Yes.
for us. So, hey, thanks a lot there, TG.
So don't forget, West.Life is where you can watch all the festivities. West.Life.schedule to see where we're heading tomorrow and also Wednesday morning. We need some rest. The convention center here is starting to clear out. Thank you for watching. Over 7,000 views, close to 30,000 views. Well, okay, I may be exaggerating. But it has been a great, great day here in Buffalo. A lot of good discussion. A historic day.
It is.
Yeah.
Go back and watch all the videos, our interview with Wayne Smith. So for Tony, Kim, Matthew, and every Wesleyan here in Buffalo, this is Heath Mulliken, and we'll see you in the morning, bright and early.